Pete, we'll start with you. Which skater are you going to pay up for tonight?
It may sound obvious here, but Nathan McKinnon, what he's done this season has been rivaled by only a few other players in the entire league. And you know the two guys on Edmonton and also one of his teammates, Nazem Kadri, but he ranks fourth in the NHL in points per game this season behind those three guys I just mentioned. But the consistency, I mean, this guy is pretty much a lock for a point every single night. He had a 7-game point streak to start the season, then had 1 game without a point, and now has 10 straight games with a point. I know he's had some injury concern and things like that, but I would get him into my lineup, and I would stack him to offset the price with any of those moderately priced Avalanche secondary scorers, either like a Burakovsky or a JT Compher, maybe even a Bowen Byram who's back from injury. And that's my strategy to kick off my lineup building for tonight.
Okay, good stuff. AJ, what is your strategy?
I'm going to look at Steven Stamkos tonight, a little bit cheaper, 7,300. Look, the Blue Jackets are going to either roll with Jonas Korpisalo in goal tonight, who hasn't played since December 16th, or JF Berube, who hasn't played an NHL game since 2017-18. And is putting up mediocre numbers in the minors. They're not bad, but they're not impressive. So yeah, Stamkos and really that entire Lightning first line with Andre Palat at 5,300, Matthew Joseph at 2,700 makes sense here. They also don't have Werenski. Like, there's no reason not to just completely stack against Columbus tonight.
All right, Paul, who are you going to pay up for? Who's worth the cash?
Well, I think AJ's onto something. I'll save my answer for the next question, I think, though. When we get a question like this, Emerson, I quickly scan the matchups for the big boys. Colorado's top line is certainly one to think about, but they're facing a Chicago team that may expect to start Fleury in the nets. And for me, that changes things. I see the Hawks getting a lift from the veteran goalie, so I fade Rantanen and McKinnon. Pacioretty's listed up there too, but he's listed out long-term with a wrist injury. So that brings me to the Jets winger, Kyle Connor, who ranks fourth among the NHL's top goal scorers with 19 tallies. He costs only $7,800 tonight, despite a great matchup against the woeful Coyotes. He's got 34 points in 31 games, but is vastly underrated in my opinion. Consider that if we were talking about Austin Matthews in this spot, the price tag would be at least $1,500 higher. Sign me up for Connor tonight.
Okay, AJ, how about some value? Help us save some cash, but also someone who could give us some points.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I mentioned Matthew Joseph here for 2,700. He's still set to be on the first line for Tampa Bay, but I'll give you some value on the back end. Noah Hanifin is going to cost you just 3,500 for Calgary tonight. He's been lighting it up late with 4 points in his last 4 games. The matchup with the Panthers and Sergei Bobrovsky is confirmed to be in goal tonight is far from ideal, but I think that's only going to serve to lower his potential drafted percentage. You know, based on what he's been doing lately, 3,500, you'd expect him to be in the lineup there. But I think the matchup here might scare a few people off. So for me, I like him in GPP contests.
Paul, you teased your answer to this question moments ago. Please deliver.
In their matchup against Columbus tonight, but I think I'm going with the second line here instead of the first one. I think it's a great stacking opportunity. And I throw in the entire second unit out there. It's driven by Brayden Point, who's priced at only $6,600, but the real value is in his wingers, and they are Alex Killorn, who has 9 points in his last 10 games, regularly featured on the club's Fulton power play too. That means he's going to get a lot of high leverage minutes overall, and he costs only $4,500 tonight. Similarly, Anthony Cirelli is a guy who has seen more scoring line playing time recently with Kucherov sideline. He has 6 points in his last 10 games and costs $3,900 tonight. And finally, another guy that I like is Paul Stasny for $3,500. This guy's moved all over the Jets roster this season because he plays equally well on the wing and at center. With Blake Wheeler sidelined, I see Stasny getting the plum assignment of a top line role with Scheifele and Ehlers. Stasny has 4 points in his last 2 games playing there and obviously enjoys this opportunity as he's averaging 19 minutes per game in his last 5 starts.
All right, Pete, who are you looking at for value?
I also love that line with Ehlers, Scheifele, and Stasny lately, and I love the value pick there from Paul on Stasny. I'm going with Clayton Keller. I know that the Coyotes are the worst team in the league in the standings, but they've been putting up some crazy offensive numbers. You look at Clayton Keller, 6 points during his 3-game point streak with 19 shots on goal in just 3 games in that span. So pretty amazing high floor there for Clayton Keller. He's got 17 points in his past 14 games. And the Coyotes offense, as bad as the team is overall, they're giving up a ton of goals over the span. But over 4 games since December 11th, they are second in goals per game at 4.5 in the entire NHL. So some sneaky appeal with those Yotes, without a doubt. So I'm rolling out Clayton Keller in my mock lineup for $4,700.
Paul, big picture here. Which team are you confident will win its game tonight?
There are three that I'll touch on, Emerson. I've already made the case for Tampa tonight, so it should come as no surprise that I'm prepared to take them at -1.5 on the puck line for a 110 payoff. Similarly, I have to go back to the Jets' visit to Arizona. That's going to be a mismatch, and I do the same thing. Go to the puck line for the 120 payoff there. The third game that I'm looking at is the Devils' trip to Boston. Both teams playing well lately, but I have more faith in the home side tonight, so I'll be on the Bruins on the puck line, giving up the 1.5 goals at +100.
Pete, how about you?
I'll stick with the Avalanche here. I think a really good chance they win at Chicago by multiple goals. I totally get the point that Paul was making about Marc-Andre Fleury, but when the Avalanche comes, literally it comes, and they could overcome a multi-goal deficit and still win by multiple goals. That's the ceiling for Colorado. So they lead the NHL in goals per game this season with 4.21. The Blackhawks, like the Avs in a way, play high event hockey, so they allow a ton of high danger scoring chances, and they have a bottom 5 PK. So if the Avalanche get 4 or 5 power play opportunities, this game could be long gone here.
Yeah, Avs -245 on the money line. AJ, talk to me about a team you're confident will win tonight.
Well, obviously the Lightning. I've been talking them up the entire time here. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them win by a couple goals here. Again, just completely outmatching the Blue Jackets. They won't have Texier tonight. They don't have Werenski. Like, all their best players are out. The one underdog that I kind of like tonight is Nashville. The Golden Knights, unlikely to have Leonard, Stone, or Pacioretty in that one. Laurent Brossoit has allowed 3 or more goals in 3 of his last 4 contests, and hasn't shown anything that would instill any sort of confidence that he could hang on for them with Leonard out. So I like Nashville tonight as an underdog pick.
All right, +100 there on the road. Which game do you like to be high scoring, Pete?
I like the game that features 2 top 10 offenses, Florida and Calgary. And Florida is always in that next man up mentality. Like, Sam Bennett is suspended 3 games starting tonight. Sam Reinhart, a guy that normally fills in at different positions, is on COVID protocol. So they have, I think, other than maybe Colorado, the deepest offense in the league. And look at what Anton Lundell, if you're looking at DFS, he's going to be slotting in most likely in the top 6 with some high-scoring wings with Duclair and Jonathan Huberdeau. So the offense is just plentiful for Florida. And then Calgary has maybe the best top line in the whole league to match that with Tkachuk, Elias Lindholm, and Johnny Gaudreau. So, yeah, I just think that there's too much scoring on both sides for that to be a low-scoring game. So that's my rationale there.
Cool. Got a total of 6 in that game. AJ, which one are you going to target?
I mean, is it bad form to keep talking about the same game here? Like, the Lightning could pile up 6 goals on the Jackets by themselves tonight. And, without a lot of offense coming from Columbus, it may not be the highest scoring game on the night, but certainly, the Lightning have all they need to just handle the total on themselves. Another game to maybe, consider is Detroit and San Jose. I know neither of these teams is considered like high scoring here, but the Sharks just got rocked to the tune of 8 goals allowed, 6 of which starter tonight, James Reimer, gave up in the first period. Then they went and they put in 5 on themselves. So they do have some offense that they can figure out here. I just think there's so little goaltending and defensive side in this game that we could see a similar showcase to that 8-5 game that San Jose lost the other night.
Okay, rock on. Paul, bring us home here, man.
You know what? I gotta refer back to Pete's comment. I got both starting goalies in the Champions League that are going tonight in that tilt in Florida. I hope it's a 1-0 game. So I'm going to go to the under on that one. But to your question, I'm expecting a lot of goals. Like AJ said, we've been hammering on the Tampa Lightning. I think they're going to rout Columbus tonight. I agree with AJ there. So I'll take the over. In fact, I might even go to the alternate line for a bigger payoff there. I also like the over under on the Detroit game against the visiting Sharks. Both teams have gotten up north of 3 goals per game on the year, and they're not doing even that well most recently. There's too many talented players, Larkin and Bertuzzi for the Wings, Couture, Hurdle, Burns, and Carlson for the Sens to keep this one under that line. So I'm going to the alternate again for over 7 in this one as well.